The O'Farrell Government recently announced it will merge the three state-owned electricity distributors into one multi-billion-dollar publicly owned corporation. This new form of state capitalism, it is said, will drive efficiency, saving electricity consumers significant operating costs. As you know, Cabinet has already decided to sell off the remaining publicly owned generators, Macquarie and Delta. But tonight, the government is being asked by some researchers and innovators to think again about selling these assets while reducing carbon emissions. With a carbon tax coming from July the 1st this year, the value of coal-fired power plants has been falling. What's the case for a rethink? CCS, carbon capture and storage. It's a technology designed to save the coal-fired power industry. Liquid CO2 captured from the power stations and pumped deep underground for permanent storage. But CCS is going nowhere, with the technology failing to gain traction anywhere in the world. Now, a collaborative research effort by the University of New South Wales Professor Chris Sorrell and chemical engineer Ray Cummings DUT Proprietary Limited is proposing an alternative which could restore value to power station assets.
Well, we've outlined to the government that these power plants are worth a lot more money than is currently thought at the moment.
The process is called carbon capture and solar sequestration. Last October, Sorrell and Cummings formally presented their research to the Australian Institute of Energy. This research is now open globally for critical assessment on the commercial cost-effectiveness in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and, to confront what's known as peak oil, the economic and environmental benefits of an alternative transport fuel the process would produce, methanol. For all you chemistry students out there, this is the chemistry involved.
The reactants are three hydrogen molecules, and they're reacted with one molecule of carbon dioxide, and they react to form one molecule of methanol, CH3OH, and water is also a byproduct.
Hydrogen plus liquid carbon dioxide produces methanol, a combustible fuel, and water.
Methanol is one of many alcohols. This is the shortest alcohol. In other words, the fewest number of carbons in an alcohol.
Carbon capture and solar sequestration involves two stages. One, carbon capture through what's called the Cummings-Palfreyman system, patents pending, where power station flue gases are cleaned and used to drive an additional generation turbine, which allows CO2 emissions to be more cost-effectively diverted from emission to the atmosphere and captured in a compressed fluid or liquid form. Two, then comes what's called solar sequestration, the production of hydrogen through solar-generated electricity used to split water on an industrial scale, demonstrated here in the laboratory by Professor Sorrell.
And the gas that you're looking at on the right here is hydrogen coming off, and the gas on the left coming from the photoanode is oxygen.
Using photovoltaic solar panels in, say, Western New South Wales, water is split into oxygen and hydrogen. The hydrogen collected is then added to the CO2 captured from coal-fired power stations, producing methanol in exportable and lucrative quantities.
Well, I think we're all aware of the pain at the petrol pump and the issue of peak oil and continuing petroleum supplies around the world, and security of them is on every government's mind. So if a country or a society can provide its own fuel and be independent of that, then this is a huge advantage. And this is your economic driving force.
The Sorrell-Cummings collaboration is proposing that the New South Wales Government thinks again about selling the remaining coal-fired power stations as solar sequestration is considered.
If we knock out all the CO2 from the power stations, about 76 million tonnes a year of methanol. It's roughly equivalent to Australia's current needs for automotive fuel.
China, South Korea and Japan are already pursuing industrial-scale methanol production to make them less dependent on oil. The investment required for carbon capture and solar sequestration would be huge and, according to energy analysts, prohibitive at the moment. So it's doubtful any government in Australia could go it alone, even with the economic benefits of a new manufacturing industry.
We've done all our costings based on us exporting it to countries like Korea and Japan, who are desperate for liquid fuel, and this would be a real game saver for them.
The other question arising, isn't methanol just another carbon-emitting fuel? Professor Sorrell demonstrated its characteristics. Petrol on the left is explosive and emits black particulate. Methanol on the right burns with a much lower, almost negligible particulate emission.
Right now we have a mixture of petrol with ethanol, and ethanol has 2 carbon units in it. That's a transition. Methanol has only 1. It's another transition. Of course, ultimately, the final transition is the hydrogen economy. And when you burn hydrogen, you get water as the combustion product, and so there's 0 emissions.
A hydrogen economy? As a chemistry lecturer might say, discuss.
Most of the people who are pushing renewable power, their approach has been that you generate it and then you displace coal-based power. And we're saying, no, this is not clever, because it means you're going to shut down industries, jobs, and you've reckoned that it's all because these power stations are not worth any money. And we're saying, no, you've got it wrong. These power stations, if we modify them properly, and the process we've got, we can add to any plant. We don't have to modify the plant. We just put it alongside the plant and hook it in.
Carbon capture and solar sequestration. The idea is now in the ether.